P.S. This is technically a warning. Probably not for me, but I know that there's some people who get a little triggered by possessiveness. So this story does have possessiveness because it is a yandere story. So if you are triggered by possessiveness, I think that's a rare few. But sorry to judge. But anyways, that is all the warnings that are in this video. So yeah, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoy. Let's get on. In all debates, the paper that piled, and the 30 items snuggled off of a few shelves, all for debate. What are we supposed to do with them? We can't bring in any more income, and that damn family is still harping us about the money we owe. Your mother searched the bills that had strapped up for a while, and your father had gone to solve them. He got lucky with casino gambles one time, and got cocky after his win. With the money he earned, he was only able to pay off a few bills, leaving them still very in debt. So he tried it again, one time, and the next lost, and tried more and lost more, again and again, until they were in debt to the family that owned the casino. A particular family. You went with your father once to see what you could do to solve the money. Not of you, of course, but only 5 minutes after all. But you got to talk to their son. He was the type of person who was allowed to be spoiled, but never wanted it. That was all you picked up from him. He was about your age, maybe a year or two older, but close enough. You got along very well, despite how quiet he was, and honestly, you wanted to see him again. Thinking you had made a good friend, zoning back to the next room arrangement, you listened in closely to your parents' words. Maybe we can take them up on their offer, your mother said desperately. No, you know we can't do that, your father said angrily, with a slight sadness. I know, but you hurt the man. They could raise them better than we could, your mother said, and you could practically feel the strain of her voice preparing her to cry. I know, but do you really think we can just let them go like that? Your father said in desperate alert. No, but we have to try. We can't raise our child with so much debt on our hands. And this will knock off $2 million. Before we know it, we could have time to get out of debt and on stable ground. And Yin, our little one, will be rotten spoiled, your mother said. When you had always been happy when they gave you a gift. Something about that had unsettled you. Those words, they weren't right. And whatever they were talking about you, you didn't want to hear anyone. So running off to your room, quiet as possible as you tucked yourself in and went to bed. While dreaming, you heard the faint sound of shuffling in your dresser and a bag zipping up. As the morning came, you looked over your right where the door was rumbled, your eyes tiredly and standing up in your PJs as you let your favorite blanket trail behind you in your hand. Stepping down the stairs of the small apartment, you look at your parents, who sat at the table, and your mother's eyes were puffy and swollen, while your dad had his face in his hands. You looked around at the particular bare house that held a few things like chairs and the kitchen that connected to it. Morning, your mother said sweetly as she pulled you into her lap with a broken and hoarse voice. Your father looked up from his hand and smiled at you. Morning, Mama. Morning, Dad, you said, and they both smiled sadly at their child, like attempt to make them happy. Listen, sweets, your mother said, her famous nickname for you, when there was something important to listen to. We're having you stay with some people for a while, and you won't be here at home, she said slowly, trying to make sense of it. Who? You asked, and this time your father spoke. You remember that nice young boy you met in the big building? Your father asked, and your face lit up. You mean Shoto-chan? you said, squirming with excitement. Yes, you're going to be staying with them, he said, and you bounced with happiness. Yay, 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 yay! You said, excited, and your mother seemed to nearly break down in tears, but she wiped them away. For how long? You asked your parents. She had a broken heart glare to each other. Oh, P.S. Did I forget to tell you? This is when you guys are like little kids, so yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry. The car door shut, and you saw the big house ahead. You wore nicer clothes that your mother gave you, and ahead stood 3 people on the cement path that led to a large mansion. It was a woman with long wavy hair that was black in color, and her makeup plastered her smile with excitement, while a man had an arm around her waist with a nice suit and on in a familiar colored hair. Similar colored hair that was cut short. Scanning quickly over the fancy dressed adults, you looked to the short boy standing next to them and immediately smiled and waved. He gave a little turn at the corner of his mouth and waved lazily back. You walked forward with your small suitcase rolling behind you. It was only a quick exchange between the adults as your father redundantly handed over some sort of paper to the man who smiled with a face that spoke all in a day's work. The woman ran over to you and greeted you sweetly as if you were a new pet that they had gotten. Oh, just look at you, how adorable! Such a sweetheart, she said, and her excitement clutched, made you happy within her hug. Hi, I'm Yin, you said excitedly. Yeah, oh yes, I know. I'm so glad to have you over, the woman said, a cute, cooing voice before turning to her husband. Yin sweets, your mother called, and she strolled up one last bag of yours with a sad smile. Mama? You asked as a tear slipped from her eye. I'm going to miss you, but here, she said, taking off her charm bracelet and clipping it on your wrist as she leaned down on one knee to almost eye level with you. She gave you one last tiny hug and a goodbye before your dad came over and patted your head. Do good, kiddo, he said, and stood up with your mother, who was in tears. You frowned at them, and your father had to practically push her away. We'll take good care of them, I promise, the tall man said as he waved them goodbye. Yinshan, you felt a hand on your shoulder and looked around slowly to see. Soto, I think it's... Sorry, I always call him Shoto Aizawa, so I think it's Sota, with a bland smile. Soto-chan, you said, and hugged him. Despite the crisp suit he wore, he hugged right back, and all of you headed inside. Wait, now I'm confused. I said they were like children, but I guess like teenagers, I guess? I don't know. You sat, twiddling your thumbs as you watched the door, waiting for Shota to arrive after his business study class. 17. You were 17 now, and you kept the small charm bracelet close, so always thinking of your mother and father. The door clicked, and you looked up excited as the long black-haired stepped through the door. Shota, you said, tackling him in a hug, which he gladly returned. Oh. Hey, kitty, he said, a nickname he grew fond of calling you, and that you secretly enjoyed. How was your day? You asked, and he walked in the house, hanging up his jacket. It was good. Better now that I'm home with you, he said, wrapping an arm around your shoulder. You were used to him throwing out words like that. He did it often ever since you came here, and it never put you down knowing you were sold off, because Shota made it all the much better. Want to go hang out? He said as you nodded, heading up to his room, where there were a few fun things. His parents always offered to buy him things, and he always said no. He wasn't like the other people wanting to be spoiled, but his mother was fond of spoiling, so she always gave you and him gifts, so there was plenty of things around to do. Yet you both sat on the bed and just scrolled through social media on one phone. The close proximity didn't matter to you. It was normal. And you just sat in his lap whenever he did and whatever, and he did not mind. Hey, Shota, you said, and he had perked up in a bit. Yeah, he said monotonely. It's a month away from my 18th birthday, and I was thinking maybe I should live on my own for a bit. Go independent, you said, and looked at him by tilting your head back on his chest. You could feel him, shaking, seething, pissed, silent. He was all so very silent, and it was unsettling to you. Shota? You asked, and he stopped, God, shaking, throwing the phone to the side as he pulled you close in a tight but unharmful hug. Anything. I wanted anything. That's what they said, but I never wanted any of it. Then you came by and played with me. I was happy. I was interested, and so I made a deal. I made a fuss. I threw things around, and I convinced them. What? You asked. You know, Yin. I know you know why you are here, he assumed, in his still, straight voice. Father, a young Aizawa spoke, as the man looked over eerily at his adorable son. Yes, my boy, he said, and for once his son looked him in the eye. He did this on rare or special occasions, and his father knew something was going to happen. You said I could have anything I wanted in the whole world, right? The young boy said. Of course. What is it you would like? The man asked, almost proud of his son, and found something he was interested in. What if it was someone? The boy asked, and his father's eyes widened before he became suddenly suspicious. And who would that be? The father asked, curiously. The boy simply lifted his hand and pointed to you as you skipped away holding your father's hand. 2 million? Your mother shouted as you and Shota played in the room outside the office. After that, it went suddenly silent, and you and Shota continued your playing. Hey, Yin-chan, do you want to be my best friend? Shota asked, and you looked up at him with a wide smile. Yes. You didn't have many friends, so having one now was the highlight of your week. Shoto nodded, and you both played once again. In that faint voice you heard were still arguing in and out. We can raise them. You wouldn't have. And your debt will be. Think about it, please, the voice said, and the doors flung open, and the father gave a glance at his son and smirked. The boy smiled back and watched as your parents walked you away, the last time you would be leaving that place with them. For days, I waited. For weeks, I wanted to see you again, and when I got you, I was so happy. But after all that convincing, you want to leave me? He said, and pulled you closer to him. Kitten. Oh, Kitty, why would you want to leave? They sold you. You're mine, he said softly, as he hugged you even closer to him. All these years, it was him pulling the strings.